300,000 years ago, Earth was crowded. If you could jump into a time machine and travel across the globe, you wouldn't just find different cultures. You would bump into entirely different species of humans. At least 9 of them walked this planet. 9 distinct ways to be human, each with their own unique tools, their own control of fire, and their own territories. Yet today, only one remains, us, Homo sapiens. For decades, we've been told a comfortable bedtime story that the others simply couldn't adapt to a changing climate and quietly faded away. But the fossil record is starting to tell a much darker story. A story that suggests they didn't just die out, they were eliminated. Welcome to the ultimate prehistoric cold case. The evidence shows we didn't just survive, we murdered the competition. Let's look at the facts. For nearly 200,000 years, Neanderthals absolutely dominated Europe and Western Asia. To put that in perspective, that is long enough to survive multiple devastating ice ages. They didn't just scrape by, they thrived. Neanderthals were built like prehistoric tanks, short, incredibly muscular, with thick bones designed to trap heat and absorb the massive impacts of hunting large prey up close. Then, roughly 70,000 years ago, Homo sapiens crossed out of Africa and entered Neanderthal territory. What happens next is terrifying. Within just a few thousand years of our arrival, the Neanderthals, who had successfully ruled this region for millennia, completely vanished. And this wasn't an isolated incident. It was a global pattern. When Homo sapiens pushed into the Middle East, the native hominids disappeared. When we built boats and landed in Australia 45,000 years ago, the giant marsupials and local archaic humans were wiped off the map. When we crossed into the Americas, dozens of large mammal species vanished. Wherever Homo sapiens went, absolute ecological disaster followed. We were the most lethal invasive species the planet had ever seen. So, when people try to blame the Ice Age for the extinction of other human species, the math simply doesn't work. The climate had fluctuated wildly before, and they had survived it. What they couldn't survive was us. The overlap in the fossil record is too precise. The moment our species arrives, theirs ends. But this brings up a massive biological puzzle. If you put a Homo sapiens and a Neanderthal in a one-on-one fight, the sapiens dies every single time. Neanderthals possessed a grip strong enough to crush a modern human's skull. They used heavy thrusting spears to bring down mammoths. And surprisingly, their brains were actually larger than ours. If they were stronger, tougher, and potentially had more raw brain power, how did we, the scrawny underdogs, win the war? It wasn't physical strength, and it wasn't just sharper spears. Our ultimate weapon of mass extinction was something entirely invisible: the cognitive revolution. In biology, there is a hard limit on how many individuals a primate can truly know and trust. For chimpanzees, that number is about 50. For early humans and Neanderthals, it was likely the same. To maintain order in a tribe, you need intimate, face-to-face gossip. You have to know who is a good hunter, who is a cheat, and who is an ally. If a Neanderthal group got too big, say 80 or 100 people, the social bonds would break down and the group would split in two. They simply could not cooperate on a massive scale. But around 70,000 years ago, a slight shift in our brain wiring changed everything. Homo sapiens gained the ability to communicate about things that did not physically exist. We invented fiction. We created myths, ancestor spirits, tribal totems, and eventually, gods and nations. Why is this a weapon? Because fiction is the ultimate social glue. If two sapiens who have never met before both believe in the same protective spirit or follow the same tribal rules, they can instantly trust each other. They don't need to be friends. They can trade, share resources, and most importantly, form massive alliances. This completely rewrote the rules of survival. If a harsh winter hit, an isolated Neanderthal tribe of 40 people might simply starve. But a sapiens tribe could trade for food with another tribe 100 miles away because they shared a fictional trust network. And in warfare, it was a bloodbath. When a sapiens war party descended on a valley, they didn't show up with 30 fighters. They came with 500 warriors, coordinated by shared beliefs and a complex, flexible language. The Neanderthals couldn't call for backup from the next valley. They didn't even speak the same dialect, let alone share a common myth. They were isolated heavyweights being swarmed by an endless, highly organized army of ants. We didn't beat them with brawn. We beat them with the power of collective imagination. Yet, as sapiens pushed the other species into the abyss, something dark and unexpected happened, a secret we only uncovered a few years ago. We didn't just kill them, we assimilated them. For over a century, the official scientific consensus was a clean break. Homo sapiens moved in, the Neanderthals couldn't compete, and they quietly faded into extinction. It was a neat, tidy story of natural selection. But in 2010, geneticists achieved the impossible. They sequenced the Neanderthal genome from ancient bones. And when they compared it to modern human DNA, they found a prehistoric smoking gun. It turns out, we were intimately familiar with our rivals. If you are of European or Asian descent, roughly 1 to 2% of your DNA is pure Neanderthal. If your ancestors are from regions in Oceania, like Papua New Guinea or certain parts of Asia, you carry up to 6% Denisovan DNA. We didn't just wipe them out, we interbred with them. But let's not romanticize this. This wasn't a peaceful merging of equals, it was biological assimilation. As sapiens expanded across the globe, entering harsh environments we had never seen before, we didn't wait tens of thousands of years to naturally adapt. We took a shortcut. We absorbed the local populations and looted their genetic cheat codes. When sapiens moved into the freezing climates of Eurasia, we picked up Neanderthal genes that changed our skin, our hair, and most importantly, gave our immune systems a massive boost against local diseases. When we moved into the oxygen-deprived mountains of Tibet, we absorbed a specific Denisovan gene, the EPAS1 gene, which allows modern Tibetans to breathe easily at extreme altitudes today. We stole their biological armor, integrated it into our own rapidly expanding gene pool, and simply outbred them. The remaining pure Neanderthals and Denisovans were pushed into smaller, harsher, and more isolated territories. Their populations shrank, their genetic diversity collapsed, and eventually they disappeared. They are technically extinct, but their ghosts are literally building the proteins in your body right now as you watch this. We didn't just conquer the other 8 human species, we swallowed them whole. So why are we the only ones left? It wasn't because we were the strongest. Homo erectus survived for nearly 2 million years, far longer than we've been around. It wasn't because we had the biggest brains or the thickest skin. We survived because we possessed a unique, terrifying superpower, the ability to invent fiction, the ability to tell stories about gods, money, nations, and laws. That single cognitive leap allowed us to cooperate flexibly in the millions, while our cousins remained trapped in isolated tribes of 50. We overwhelmed them not with individual brilliance, but with the sheer force of collective imagination. But here is the final, chilling truth. That exact same superpower is a double-edged sword. The very same ability to invent shared fictions that allows us to build international space stations and cure diseases is the exact same ability that allows us to invent deadly ideologies, wage global wars, and build weapons capable of mass extinction. We are the ultimate apex predators. We systematically eliminated 8 versions of ourselves to claim absolute dominance over this planet. And now, the only species left on Earth capable of destroying Homo sapiens is Homo sapiens. If you made it to the end of this video, your attention span is phenomenal. You must be using every drop of that Neanderthal DNA. If you want to keep exploring the dark, hidden secrets of our history, hit that subscribe button right now. I want to hear from you in the comments. Do you think we are the final human species, or will our superpower eventually be our own undoing? Drop your theories below. Stay curious, keep surviving, and I'll see you in the next one.